Hello everybody and welcome on in to Mounties Midweek. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's show, we review the homecoming week that was, plus we talk with cross country on their turning point of the season. Sports Information Director Ryan McNamara has been elevated by President Dr. Charles Patterson to the role of Director of Marketing and Communications for the university. In this new role, McNamara will guide the university's strategic messaging and branding efforts to promote and publicize Mansfield's overall mission. McNamara oversaw the promotion and coverage of Mansfield's 13 varsity athletic programs as Sports Information Director since the spring of 2017. He joined the sports information staff in 2010, where he worked under Co-SIDA Hall of Fame member Steve McCluskey. He was made a full-time assistant in 2012. In a statement, McNamara said, quote, "It has been the thrill of a lifetime to work in Mansfield's athletic department alongside the most exceptional student athletes, coaches, and administrators in the country. I will forever cherish the memories and the friendships that were created through covering Mountaineer sports programs." And Mac, first of all, thank you. I know you're going to be great at your job. Thank you for trusting me to bring me to this assistant position. I really appreciate it. And congratulations once again to you, Ryan McNamara, for this incredible opportunity. Plans to fill the Sports Information Director role are in place, and an announcement will be forthcoming. The Sprint football team took on Alderson Brodus for their homecoming matchup. The first quarter, Mansfield a yard away, and David Butler will not be denied, punches it in for the go-ahead score. Later in the quarter, David Butler once again, this time the little screen from Kobe Peacock, and he dances his way into the end zone. Mansfield was up 14-0 after the two-point conversion. In the second quarter, after a Battlers touchdown, Mansfield was up 14-6. Peacock running the ball, and it squirts out, but John Rogers is Mr. Johnny on the spot and recovers that one in the end zone. That's a touchdown. Mansfield was up at the half with a score of 20-12. In the second half, now Dylan Kamich came in to relieve Kobe Peacock. He finds DJ McLean in the end zone to increase the Mounties' lead. Mansfield would not take the foot off the gas pedal. David Butler just rumbling and bumbling into the end zone, 35 yards. Mansfield up 36-18. Then Ryan Ripka put the icing on the cake with a 3-yard scamper here to give the Mounties the final score of 42-18. Mansfield improves to 3-1 on the season, and that's the best start in Sprint program history. The Mounties are off this week, but return to action next Friday, October 18th, as they travel to take on Cornell University. The women's soccer team had two matchups this past week. They traveled to Millersville to take on the Marauders first. Corinne Reinhart and Eleni Gebbia both scored for the Mounties, but the offensive assault was too much and the Marauders beat the Mountaineers by a score of 6-2. Those two goals by Mansfield was the first time on the year that Millersville had allowed a multi-goal game. The team hit the road again Saturday as they traveled to Kutztown. Mansfield's offense just couldn't get anything going, and the Bears get a big win by a final score of 5-0. Mansfield is home this week for two games. The first one is on Wednesday as they welcome Shippensburg, and return to action Saturday as they welcome the Bald Eagles of Lock Haven. The field hockey team had three games this past week. They traveled to Erie, Pennsylvania to take on the Mercyhurst Lakers for the first one. Mansfield would control the game from start to finish. Kaylin Duke, Christy Byer, and Dana Evans all tallied goals for the Mountaineers, and Brittany Ryan had a shutout performance. That shutout put her atop the all-time leaderboard in shutouts as a Mansfield goalkeeper that tied the record. They then returned home for a tough matchup against the number 6 team in the country, the Shippensburg Raiders. The Raiders controlled the first quarter and was up 2-0 in the third when Mansfield struck back. That goal by Dana Evans puts her atop the leaderboard in the conference, and that was her 14th goal on the year. It was not enough, however, and the Raiders escape with a 2-1 victory. Mansfield would travel to IUP Tuesday. Mansfield put on quite the performance. Larissa Motts became the second Mountie to score not one, not two, but 3 goals in a game. And yes, indeed, that's a hat trick. And Brittany Ryan got a shutout in this game. That is her 11th career shutout. That puts her solely atop that in the Mansfield record books. The 8th win of the year that Mansfield collected there also matches their win totals from the last 2 seasons. Mansfield returns to action on Friday as they take on Seton Hill at home. The cross-country team ran at the Houghton Highlander Invitational this past weekend. Lyndsey Payne had a top 5 finish for the Mountaineer cross-country team at Houghton Highlander Invitational. She ran a 6K time of 23:40 to lead the team. Lauren Ensminger and Shelby Alexander each had good runs as they finished 28th and 52nd respectively. On the men's side, 4 runners placed inside the top 30, with Quincy Amabile and Kevin Heeman leading the way in 14th and 18th place, and Christian Tanner and Christopher Porter finished 25th and 28th respectively. All this week, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference will take part in the PSAC Officials and Sportsmanship Week. These are campaigns to emphasize and promote sportsmanship as it relates to the league's schools, coaches, student athletes, and fans. Releases on social media and the web will be made by members of the institutions of the PSAC, and each team will participate in a handshake before every PSAC contest. Now let's take a look at what else is coming up this week for Mansfield Athletics. Do not go anywhere. More Mounties Midweek is on the other side.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Notify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
Because we can.
Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
UPMC is a visionary hospital, cutting-edge research, all of the exciting things out on the edge of medicine.
There's a challenge every day, and there's the potential to help. When given the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, that's a tremendous feeling.
UPMC's interest in bringing the best there is in the science and research and bringing that bench side to the bedside is what makes a huge difference.
Life-changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
Welcome back here. Now let's talk sprint football as coming off homecoming. The sprint football team had a huge win in front of that homecoming crowd. And joining me to talk about that is Dante Torisi. Dante, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
So a lot happened over this past weekend. Let's start with the stuff before the game. Of course, the Frank Butzko breakfast happened. You're the Frank Butzko Award winner. What does that mean to you?
It's just such an honor to win that award. Just having all my family, my teammates, seeing all the alumni, like it was just an awesome day. It's the most prestigious award that can be given to a football player, and it was really just such an honor.
And in your speech, I remember you talking about your pride in being an offensive line. Because you guys don't get the stats, you don't get the flash all the time, but you have pride in playing that position. Why do you have so much pride in what you do?
I guess just for, like I said in my speech, 14 years I've been playing offensive line. And usually when we get our name called, it's for a flag or something not good. But just taking that pride in running the football, taking the pride in protecting the quarterback, I mean, it's just the way offensive linemen carry themselves, which makes us successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's switch to the game itself. It was a chippy game at times. You as a senior leader of this group, what did you have to do to really settle the masses? They're a young team. The Alderson Broadus is a young team, and they got chippy at times. It was their first game on the road.
Definitely.
But what do you have to do as a leader of this group to calm down the Mansfield team when games start to go like that?
I guess we just talk about a lot as an offense to just play whistle to whistle. Let them do what they want after the whistle, but as long as we're going 100% whistle to whistle and go back to the huddle, let them get the penalties. They'll hurt themselves because they had a lot of penalty yards. And I was very proud of our guys, and I thought we did a really good job, especially I think it was the week or two before we had too many penalties. I really thought we fixed that and cleaned that up.
Nice. So offensively in this game, you were able to move the ball and you were able to run the ball, and I'm sure you love that.
Yeah, I do.
What were the keys and against their defensive line? Where were the key blocks to really set up David? Again, another great day for him.
Yeah, well, Butler, he really runs hard, and it's a pleasure to block for him. And that kind of just goes back to our week of practice. Tristan, our offensive line coach, he did a really good job on preparing us from scouting reports and just kind of like working what kind of fronts we're going to see. Everything they did in the game, we saw in practice. So we knew and we were confident in what we were doing, and we were just able to execute on Saturday.
So stepping away from the game real quick, because you mentioned Tristan Sissio, that dynamic is very interesting because that was a teammate and a very close friend who's now in the coaching role. So the dynamic shifts between you two. How has that really been this season?
Honestly, it's been awesome. He made such a smooth transition. Like it seems like he's been coaching for 10 years already. Like every coaching staff needs a Tristan Sissio. The way he works, the way he's able to relate to the players because he played in the league. He really is doing a great job, and I'm proud of him.
Absolutely, and he, of course, was the one who introduced you for the Butzko Award.
That was.
So going back now to the game, in that game, so we talked offensively, trying to get the ground game going. Of course, there was the quarterback switch halfway through. Does that change your game plan at all when you have a different style of quarterback back there?
Not really, because we just kind of focus on our 111, our job. We're out there doing our job. We just going to protect the quarterback. Kamish stepped up. He threw that deep pass to John Rogers. But that just goes to show that we work well as a team. We just do our 111 and get the job done.
So coming up this week, of course, it's a bye week. Last season, I remember you guys saying the bye week last year was the turning point of that season. So what are your focuses here this week for the bye week as the unit?
Really just to rest up. We're going to practice a little bit this week, mostly mental, just get everything down, stay in the weight room. But really just come back next week ready to go. rest up this week, and we got Cornell coming up.
Yeah.
Our eyes are on them. We're ready for them now.
Yeah, how much of a benefit is it going to be that you have this week preparing for that game? It's been a rivalry game in the past. It's been a close game in the past, and you guys have to travel on the road on a Friday, so that's a little different too.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely going to help because it would be a shorter week. So having that extra time, and like you said, it is a rivalry, so we're all excited to drive up there and come back with the win.
All right, absolutely. One last thing I want to talk about is especially the offensive line thing is like, especially in this league. This is a spread football league. You can't really bully. There's no bullies on the line, defense or offense. So the importance of technique in this league, I think, is beyond really any other. So how important, as a player, as someone who's done this, tell me how important that aspect of it is, the technique, to really be able to open those holes.
Technique, and I would also say communication. Having the correct footwork, especially because guys are flying around. The linebackers are they're faster than usual. So having the right footwork to take the right angles to make your blocks, having your hands in the right spot to get good push off the line, and also just knowing if you have a double team with another offensive lineman, who's getting off to get the linebacker, who's staying on. If they blitz, who's picking up the blitzer, and how are we switching that? So technique and communication is key in this league.
Well, thank you so much, Dante.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And Mounties Midweek rolls on after this. Do not go anywhere.
UPMC is a visionary hospital, cutting-edge research, all of the exciting things out on the edge of medicine.
There's a challenge every day, and there's the potential to help. When given the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, that's a tremendous feeling.
UPMC's interest in bringing the best there is in the science and research and bringing that bench side to the bedside is what makes a huge difference.
Life-changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
From court to court and lane to lane, under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's switch gears once again and talk field hockey as we have Madison, Wilinskey, and Brittany Ryan at the table. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
So let's talk last week. Last week, you had two matchups. First one against Mercyhurst, second one against a ranked Shippensburg team. Let's start with that Mercyhurst matchup. Conference play started and was able to have another long road trip that you guys went on, but was able to come out with a shutout win. You as the goaltender, you as defensively, what was the key to getting that goose egg on the other side?
Just working together as a team and having that defensive unit work as one is super important for us.
We used everything that we did in practice prior to that to implement that into the game, and we played that game perfectly. So.
And with that, Brittany, I don't know if you know this, but you also are now tied on top of the record book for most shutouts as a Mansfield goalie. So good
I did not know that.
Congratulations to that. But again, talking about that game and that battle, adjusting to, I know they have new turf there, and I know it's a long trip, and I'm sure you guys have done this by now, but to get used to the new ground that you're on, every road trip, especially a long road trip, what are the steps you need to do to really just be comfortable with the surroundings?
Coach does a good job of getting us there early enough that we have enough time to get into the locker room, relax, forget about the bus ride, and then kind of just have fun together, listen to music. We usually bring a ball with, we'll like throw it around and stuff. And then we go out to the field and just have a few touches, get your first touches and everything, try and figure out what the field is actually like. Thankfully, it was very much like our turf, so we didn't have much of a struggle with that. But yeah, we do a good job of preparing for stuff like that.
Yeah, the first touches on the field are super important for us to get a feel for what it's going to be like, especially when, even if we're running like mock corners, like getting the inserts down and the receptions down is super important.
So the weather that we have had at the start of this year, it hasn't wanted to change to fall. We've had like summer weather all year until, of course, Saturday when it just hit like a ton of bricks. It was a cold day, but really a nice day. Madison, I give you a lot of credit. You were in there, no sleeves on. You are embracing the cold.
We kept doing weather checks before because I thought I was going to need Under Armour, and then kept going outside and I was like, I don't think so. I should have worn it, but just had to go with it anyway.
It was actually nice for that transition to play in the cold weather. I think it gave us a lot of energy actually going into the game.
I was going to say, Brittany, I'm sure that's easier for you to be in all that gear with a cooler sky than 90 degrees.
I was extremely happy that it was not 90 degrees outside. It is hot in all that gear.
So let's talk about that game, though. Shippensburg, they obviously got off to a very quick start in the game. And I know with the change to quarters, there's no longer that coach timeout that she may have wanted to do early in that game. So what do you guys have to do to adjust on the fly when you see a team, a very talented team, but a team start off like that?
Well, after they got the first goal, we huddled up and we tried to talk about things that we needed to fix quickly. And we didn't really have the time to have this long, drawn-out game plan, but just the little stuff like that really helps to get our heads back in the game.
And then just overall communication from like the sidelines onto the field and then around the field, like making sure that we're all like relaying the information to each other and pumping each other up and keeping each other checked in and focused and making the adjustments we need to.
And you guys, there was pressure put on you through that whole game. Brittany, you had to make 19 saves. Maddie, you were constantly pressured. What do you have to do with a relentless attack like Shippensburg had early and really that entire game? What do you guys have to do to counter that and to try and open for a counterattack?
Like personally, it's just about confidence. If you don't go into that game thinking you're going to be able to stop every ball you can, you won't. So just about keeping me confident myself and then talking to her, talking to my sides, making sure that we're all comfortable and confident with what we're doing.
Yeah. I think it really helps me when I talk to my girls too, like when I'm talking to you on the field and just like actually talking to each other through the game and keeping myself checked in that way is what I like to do. And then also just like Madison said, like the confidence factor is huge and making sure that like the more that I can communicate my confidence to them and like express that towards the rest of the field and like my communication helps, I think, everybody.
Yeah.
And obviously the game ended up not the way you wanted, but if you do take small victories out of a game, you shut them out in the second half. Really, the final 3 quarters, you guys. So how much pride in a good team? Yeah, their record seems down, but they're the 3-time defending national champs for a reason. So what kind of pride do you take in that after that first quarter that went awry, that you were able to shut them out the rest of the game?
I mean, heads were down after the game, and I know I said to my girls, like, I'm so proud of the way we played. Like our freshmen and our younger girls don't really know what we went through our first year. And 2-1, I couldn't be happier with that, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it was huge for us. We played a really good game, and I'm extremely proud of my team. Like, I relied on them a lot on the field, and they did great.
So you mentioned that just the growth that you guys have as senior class members of this group, the growth you have seen in this program. Obviously, you're off to the best start in program history, and I'm sure you guys take a lot of pride in that. What is now going to be the key to get one of these signature wins against a very good ranked opponent? This conference is unbelievably good. So what is going to be the key really to get over that hump and really steal one of these games and get a signature win?
I think building off of the things that we have learned from previous games and building the confidence, not losing that momentum, and actually keep pushing forward and pushing through the adversity and overcoming that and using the learning experiences and actually applying them into the next games is going to be super important for us.
Yeah, you can tell that as a team, we don't go into games anymore thinking like, probably not going to win, not going to do that great. We go in with extreme amount of confidence. Not confidence that could hinder us, but enough that does help us push through games that, I mean, tough games like SHIP that who really knows who's going to end up winning. We aren't afraid to go into games anymore.
And another challenging thing that you guys have this year is really in the back. Maddie, you got a lot of freshmen on your other side. Brittany, you have freshmen in front of you. So especially as seniors of this group trying to lead this defensive back line, how you've already talked about the importance of communication, but especially with young players, trying to get them to know their job and buy into their job. What are the challenges and what are the rewards of doing that?
I think it helps us. Like, the more we communicate to them and tell them what we expect of them and what they need to do, it helps our game. I think you learn a lot by, like, coaching and helping others. So that's been helpful for us. And they've done a great job. They've really stepped up and they're willing to learn and motivated, and they've been great for us.
We have very coachable freshmen. And, I mean, anytime I say anything, they just soak it in and they try so hard to do it. And I can't ask for anything more than that.
So this week coming up, by the time you guys see this, the IUP game will have already happened. But I want to talk about the scheduling for this week, because it's really the first week the scheduling is all kinds of crazy. You have a game on Tuesday and a game on Friday, not usually that Wednesday, Saturday schedule. So how do you guys adjust on the fly to that quick change?
Today has to be super focused at practice. We have 2.5 hours to get what we need to get done and prepare ourselves mentally for IUP. And then, again, a quick turnaround for Friday and making sure we're on top of the game and keeping each other checked in is going to be key.
Yeah, keeping each other accountable at practice is going to be a really big focus for today.
And so we mentioned that first opponent, IUP. The second opponent on Friday will be Seton Hill. This is round 2 with these teams. This one counts for conference play. Obviously, it was a frustrating game against IUP here the last time you guys faced off. What is the key against a team that, for whatever reason, it's just a great matchup between them and you guys? No matter what, really, the records are, you match up well. So what is going to be the key, and the little things, what are going to be the key to winning in that game?
I think to keep ourselves up on our game, like when we played ESU and SHIP, we played at a different level, and I think we need to keep that rolling, and I think we'll have no problem.
And I think we need to focus on the controllables for this game, because there's going to be things that we can't control, and we need to make sure that our heads stay focused on our goal and play our game throughout the entire game.
And then Friday, it's a home contest. Obviously, don't want you looking past the game on Tuesday, but what do you expect? Again, that was a dominating win down there when you faced them the first time. But, I mean, it's conference play now. It's a whole different ball game. What are the keys in that matchup?
To keep our heads on straight, make sure, again, can't control what you can't control. So as long as we play our game, we know how to play our game, and we play it tough, we'll be fine.
Yep. Just keeping a high intensity throughout that entire game is going to be important for us. And making sure that, like, we want to reach our goals and then go above and beyond that. So hopefully doing that in that game would be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by here.
Thank you
Thanks
for having
us.
And Mounties Midweek, we roll on after this. Don't you go anywhere.
to Lane under the lights or under the sun. No one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
UPMC brings so much to the table. They're just a comprehensive visionary system.
UPMC is innovative and always on the cutting edge of technology.
Defining not only healthcare, but health.
Its expertise, its focus on patients and what is best for patients.
As UPMC, we're able to elevate the standard of care. Just a wonderful opportunity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mounties Midweek. And we will now switch gears and talk cross country as we have Lyndsey Payne with us. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the most recent race you ran in. A heck of a performance and a top 5 performance for you. Talk me through that race.
So it's always good to have a top 5 performance, especially in a field of 100+ runners. I will say I was a bit slow on the time that I was looking for. It was overall like a very slow race. The winning time wasn't that fast, so it wasn't really what I was looking for. About a mile and a half in, I kind of noticed I was a bit slow, and I kind of just told myself, all right, let's not worry about the pace. For whatever reason, it wasn't working out. And I just kind of, I knew I had 4 Geneseo girls on my tail, and I just kind of told myself, I have to embrace it and just kind of push through, and I held them off the best I could, and it turned out to be, okay in the end.
Absolutely. Hey, I would say more than okay with the top 5 there. So talking about that and being racing for place and racing for time, they are 2 very different things.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially championship season, it switches. That gear completely switches. It goes to place instead of time. Where is that switch in your brain to make sure that you know that switch?
So, you always want a PR, and I really did want a PR, and I think I'll get it at Lock Haven because it's a much flatter, much faster course. But, looking back at last year with all the mud, it wasn't about times, it was about places. So you kind of have to have that mentality. And I know when I'm uncomfortable and when I'm hurting, I know that, I try to tell myself, okay, the girls around me are hurting as well. So, you just kind of have to roll with the punches and just go with it.
And this week coming up, the women's team gets to go to Bloomsburg. Another trip, but hey, you mentioned you go to Lock Haven a lot and Bloomsburg a lot.
Yeah.
And that's important because those are both of the big race hosts.
Yeah. We went to Bloom earlier this season for a 4K, but it's nice to go and see the PSAC preview and just kind of know, because he's going to change up the course just a little bit. I'm not really sure how many times we're going up Hospital Hill, but it's always a fun one to kind of know what you're doing for, 2 weeks after.
Yeah, I love that hospital loop, just down into the dirty. But that's a key part in that race on that course. That hospital loop is a key part of this race.
It is, yeah. In high school, we did it a different way, but last year or this year, we did it backwards. So I don't know, he's changing things up, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes, so to speak.
Yeah.
There. So again, as we get closer and closer to championship season, when so we talked about how you get that switch from place or from time to place, but when does that switch occur for you? When does your mindset shift into championship mode?
So we have this last meet and then we get a week break. So that's kind of after this meet, we're kind of wrapping up some stuff and, workout wise and just kind of, yeah.
And, you this year, you're not a senior, but you are pretty much the leader. You are, not pretty much, you are the leader of this group. How has that dynamic been for you this year?
It's been a learning experience all around, definitely. There's a lot of new faces, so, a lot of new stuff, and it can be scary, but I think change is good. And I was really, really happy. A couple of them did get some PRs last race, so I was really happy for them.
Nice. Always fun to see your teammates improve as well as you. So with that role and with that leadership role that you're in, and especially because cross country and even with track too that you're looking well forward to, it's both, you want to still work out as a team. And I know we had talked about this before the season had started. Getting everyone, you can practice individualized, but still wanting that team practice. What is the challenges, and then what do you have to do to make sure everyone's still working together as a team in this?
Yeah, so basically, we're not the same paces on every run, but it's nice to show up and start together and then leave the gym and finish together in that aspect.
So this past week, it was homecoming. Brene Edwards was inducted into the Hall of Fame here. Did you guys have a chance to speak with her at all?
We did. Friday before our run, we got to speak with her for a little bit. Time was kind of short on that. I kind of wish that we could have been back here for more, but, we had to go race. It was really special meeting her, especially with how much Coach talks about her. And, she was, I guess, just like us, like 1930 out of Hazleton. She wasn't like anything spectacular, but she, and Coach Mike and Coach Michelle do a really good job at developing athletes and, turning people into spectacular athletes.
Yeah, and she left here a national champion, so that's always great.
Yeah.
So what were your biggest takeaways, though, from her and her speech to you guys? What were some of the things you specifically took away from that?
She basically kind of said, she told Coach Mike she wanted to be fast, and he said, okay, you got to do this, and she was like, okay.
So, yeah, absolutely taking it. Well, Lyndsey, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
And Mounties Midweek rolls on after this. Do not go anywhere.
From court to court and lane to lane, under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub, with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours. The home of Division II college.
Of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a two-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's talk men's cross country now, as we have Quincy Amabile joining me at the desk. Quincy, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
So this past week at Houghton, a great performance by you. Talk me through your race.
Well, the race went out fairly quickly, actually, compared to what we wanted to. We wanted to hold like 5:20 pace for the duration of the first 3 miles. And then the last 2, we were going to try and break it down. But I think our top 3 went through the first mile in around 5:15, 5:10. Oh, wow. And then we kind of backed off a little bit and caught back up to the pace that we were trying to hit. And I know all the top 4 guys were together, including our coach, Matt Wilbur, who is a beautiful man. And he decided to run the race with us too to help us pace. But we kind of ran away from him a little bit when we should have stuck back with him.
So in that, when a race goes off quickly like that, what do you have to do mentally to really adjust?
I mean, you kind of just have to be disciplined enough to let people pass you because you're going to be a little bit ahead. And you know, when you drop back the pace, people are going to have to pass you a little bit, which can be a little difficult to let happen. But after you get through, I guess, that mental barrier, you can kind of start hitting your paces and the game plan starts falling into the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. That's easier. That's like you said, that's a hard thing to do. Let people come and pass you. And I mean, eventually, if you keep on pace, you'll probably see them once again.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to let someone pass you and not want to keep the pace with them and catch up. But what ended up happening is they would pass us around the first mile when we started backing it off. And then come the halfway through the 3rd mile or in the 4th mile, we started passing them again, each one of us. And through the whole race, I wasn't by myself. I had my 3 other teammates. I think it was Kevin Heeman, Christopher Porter, and Christian Tanner. They were all with me the whole time. So we all ran as a pack, which was awesome.
So having that pack mentality, I know that is a great thing to be able to have, and especially these young freshmen who have come up and are able to run with you. How much does that ease your strategy?
Oh, it makes it awesome because, especially mentally, because obviously a cross-country race isn't the most enjoyable or fun experience. It's actually painful.
Oh, yes.
But knowing that you have your guys there to keep pushing you, and it's a little bit of motivation to know that they're going through the same thing as you are. So it just helps with the mental aspect especially.
I mean, especially with that freshman group. Yeah. So going and switching to the leadership aspect of your role here, how has your job been different from previous years with a young group, a very young, talented group, but also trying to have them buy into the culture that is Mansfield cross country?
Oh, I guess the main way that my role has changed is just trying to be a good example for the guys. I mean, before I would look up to the other older seniors or juniors when I was younger, but now I guess I kind of have to be that role model. And also setting paces during the race was, I guess, kind of my responsibility because those guys kind of stick on my back a little bit rather than them taking the pace because they're still learning as well. But they're great. I mean, they're more of a motivation for me than anything.
So you mentioned that race was all about trying to hit that pace, this race at Houghton. At what point in the season does it then change? Because I know come championship time, that switches. That mentality, I mean, obviously you still want your pace, but that mentality does shift a little bit into wanting to get a certain place. So where in that season does that switch take place?
I think that switch is going to take place next week, or in 2 weeks, I think. Sorry, in 2 weeks when we have PSACs, whenever PSACs is, that's going to change. I mean, we're still going to try and run as a pack, but I feel like that pacing strategy of starting out slower and passing people as we go up will still be there but not as drastic of a drop towards the end, because we're gonna want to try and run an even-paced race all the way through. But I honestly think, although the mentality changes, the other freshman guys will all be together. I feel like, especially you can see it in workouts, we're all around the same pace each time. So I think although the mentality will change, the race won't look much different, because I think we'll all be there together throughout the entirety of the race, honestly.
And those two races with the PSAC race and then the regional race, those courses are very different altitude throughout there. But the good thing is, in those races of Bloomsburg and Lock Haven, is you guys have run these courses this year. How much is that going to help going into that?
I think it's really going to help, because it's just an advantage to know the course and know when to kick, and especially mentally, and seeing the course and being like, when I hit this turn, I know I have 800 to go, or I know I have a mile to go. And that really helps, so you're not guessing where you're at in the run, because depending on where you're at depends on a little bit what kind of effort you're giving. So it definitely helps, especially at Bloomsburg. It helps to know when the hill is coming, because that hill is a little brutal, especially going down is hard on your legs, as well as going up is hard on your legs and your breathing as well. So
yeah, that good old hospital loop there.
Yeah, the hospital loop is tough, so it's good to know when it's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then your strategy individually, or your goals individually coming up, of course, we have the conference meet and then the regional meet. What are your goals specifically for those meets?
For conference and regional, I would say for conference, I would just like to try and run a PR in the 8K, because I think the last time I ran a PR in cross country was my sophomore year. So I would like to run a PR at that race and try and help out the team as much as possible. Yeah. I think definitely the individual and team is kind of together, because like I said, we're all going to be together probably during the race. So just kind of help lead the guys along throughout that, and hopefully they could stick on me or something and then try and outkick me at the end.
And then, of course, you had quite the dramatic finish last year at the regional. Obviously, I don't want you looking too far ahead, but then for that one, what is your goal?
That one's a little tricky. I don't know the competition as well as we did last year. There's a lot of schools that we haven't seen, and there's also been some new schools added to the region. But I would like to PR in the 10K there, because last year's course was muddy and hilly and slippery, but it's going to be at Lock Haven, so even if it is muddy, it's going to be a faster course because it's very flat, and the mud might not play as much of a factor.
Yeah, last year you guys definitely had to run through it in the mud, both at conference and region. Well, Quincy, thank you so much for stopping by here.
Thanks, Drew.
And Mounties Midweek rolls on after this. Do not go anywhere.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
Get in the way and disrupt the situation.
Codify an authority.
Or walk them home safely.
We can change the language around rape.
We can make campuses safer for our teammates, our friends, and our classmates.
We cannot be bystanders.
Taking action isn't always easy, but it's on us
to intervene.
Because we can.
Learn more and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
UPMC is a visionary hospital, cutting-edge research, all of the exciting things out on the edge of medicine.
There's a challenge every day, and there's the potential to help. When given the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, that's a tremendous feeling.
UPMC's interest in bringing the best there is in the science and research, and bringing that bench side to the bedside is what makes a huge difference.
Life-changing medicine is not only medical treatment or surgical treatment, but giving patients hope.
It is now time for Play of the Week. Last week, we had a back-and-forth battle that came down to the final minutes to decide the winner, and this was it. Terrence Quaker, his kickoff return touchdown, your last week's winner. This week, we have a battle between women's soccer and field hockey. And let's start with soccer. The Mansfield Mountaineers, they traveled down to Millersville, and this is a corner kick, goes across, and Corinne Reinhardt, look at that shot, into the back of the goal. That play is against this one from field hockey, and Saturday, Mansfield was down 2 goals before Dana Evans responded like this.
Front shot up, and this one sneaks in!
Make sure you vote which one of these incredible goals is your play of the week by heading over to Twitter at Mountie All Access, and results will be revealed next week. That's our show for you folks. To stay up to date on all things Mountaineer athletics, head over to GoMounties.com.